message from her sister Lily about the party schedule, then turning it face down because Emma didn't want distractions, she wanted clarity. And as she stood in her kitchen holding a folded note she had written to herself weeks ago, she reread the lines that said she would be brave, that she would not hide anymore, that she would show Noah that love did not disappear even when people did, and the memory of her own heartbreak pressed in, the end of a long relationship that had quietly drained her, leaving her feeling small and unsure. Yet Noah never saw that version of her. He only saw his aunt who listened, who showed up, who rode bikes with him when his father could not. And as Emma packed her bag and stepped outside into the cool morning air, she felt the city waking up around her. Delivery trucks, early joggers, distant sirens, life moving forward whether she was ready or not, and she decided she would move with it, because Noah deserved a birthday shaped by honesty, not avoidance. So she drove across town with purpose, replaying old scenes in her mind, the first time she taught Noah to ride, the scraped knees, the laughter, the way he trusted her completely, and that trust scared her because it demanded something real. In return, something more than smiles and promises. And as she stopped at a red light, she remembered the way Noah's face looked when he spoke about his father, not angry, just curious, as if trying to solve a puzzle missing a piece, and Emma knew she could not fix everything, but she could give him a sense of continuity, a reminder that people who love him are still connected, still present in ways that matter. And when she reached the quiet street where the day would truly begin, she parked the car and took a deep breath, knowing that once she stepped out, there would be no turning back. Because part one of this story was not about balloons or cake or applause, it was about a woman choosing courage over comfort, choosing to face old feelings instead of burying them, choosing to turn her own pain into something gentle, something meaningful. And as she opened the car door and felt the morning sun on her face, Emma understood that this birthday was not only Noah's turning point, but hers too, the moment where she stopped surviving quietly and started living honestly, even if it meant risking tears, questions, or misunderstanding, because love, she had learned, was never safe, but it was always worth showing up for. Emma drove through the quiet streets with her heart beating fast, the folded note in her bag feeling heavier with every turn, because today was not just about giving Noah a gift. This was about connecting the past with the present, about honoring memories she had almost let slip away. And as she reached the blue house at the edge of town, she saw the garage door slightly open and knew Mark would be inside, just as he always was on weekends, working on bicycles and engines with patient hands, and the sight of him standing there, wiping grease from his fingers, made a wave of emotion rise in her chest, a mix of nostalgia and a strange gentle longing she hadn't fully admitted, because they had known each other since high school, had shared dreams and secrets and awkward, shy laughter that felt like sunlight through a window. And now, years later, seeing him again stirred both comfort and tension, the comfort of familiarity and the tension of unspoken possibilities, and she hesitated for a heartbeat before walking in, her footsteps echoing softly on the concrete floor, the smell of oil and rubber grounding her as she spotted the red bicycle resting against the wall, shining under the dim garage light, and she realized that this bike had once belonged to her, then to Noah's father, and now it had been restored carefully by Mark. Each part polished, each chain tightened, each wheel balanced, and seeing it there made her chest ache because it carried history and love, not just for Noah but for her own story. And Mark looked up and smiled, a quiet, warm smile that held understanding without judgment, as if he could see everything she carried in her heart, and she returned the smile, grateful for the shared silence that said more than words could, because she wasn't sure she could explain why she had come, why this gift mattered so much, why giving it felt like both letting go and holding on at the same time. And as they stood together, Emma felt a pulse of connection, a gentle electricity that wasn't romantic in a loud, urgent way, but slow and steady, something that could grow if they allowed it. And she realized she had missed this, the ease of being with someone who knew her fully, who could understand the quiet layers of her emotions without needing explanations. And Mark finally spoke, his voice low and calm. I think Noah will love writing this. He'll feel proud, and he'll know it's special. And she nodded, blinking back a tear she hadn't meant to shed, because it wasn't just about the bike, it was about trust, about showing love in a way that was tangible and lasting, about offering a piece of herself to someone she cared for deeply. And as Mark adjusted the handlebars and checked the brakes one last time, Emma watched his hands move with care, admiring not just the skill but the patience, the thoughtfulness, and she felt a shift. Inside her, a soft but firm acknowledgement that some connections never really fade, that old friendships could hold new possibilities, that love could be quiet, patient, and still profoundly powerful. And as they carried the bike carefully to her car together, Emma felt a mixture of relief and anticipation, relief that the gift was perfect, anticipation for Noah's reaction, and a subtle, unspoken awareness that this moment also marked a gentle turning point for her own heart, a hint of something tender and hopeful, something she hadn't expected to feel but welcomed nonetheless, because in this act of giving, of restoring, of remembering, she was also giving herself permission to hope, to feel, to begin again. And as the car doors closed and they started the drive back to Noah's party, Emma realized that part 2 was not just a prelude to a birthday surprise, it was a bridge between past and present, between old emotions and new possibilities, between what was lost and what could be found again, and she held that thought quietly, a small, steady flame of courage and warmth that would guide her through the day and beyond. The backyard was alive with bright colors, laughter, and the smell of cake when Emma arrived, carrying the carefully restored red bicycle hidden beneath a simple cloth. And the sight of balloons swaying in the gentle breeze and children chasing each other made her heart beat faster, because today was not just any birthday, it was Noah's, and she wanted it to be unforgettable, not because of grandeur but because of meaning. And the moment Noah saw her, his small face lighting up with excitement, crumbs of frosting on his fingers, and hair sticking up from running around, Emma felt a rush of warmth that made her chest tighten with a familiar mix of love and nervous anticipation. And as she knelt to hug him, he whispered something about hoping for the best present ever, completely unaware that the gift before him was layered with memory, care, and stories. And when she gently lifted the cloth to reveal the bicycle, the noise of the party softened as eyes turned, curiosity and surprise filling the space, and Emma began to speak softly, her voice carrying both pride and emotion. "This was my first bike," she said, her hands resting lightly on the handlebars, "and before that, it belonged to someone who loved you very much." And Noah's fingers traced the frame with careful reverence, his wide eyes reflecting understanding beyond his years, and for a moment, the sounds of laughter and conversation faded around them, replaced by a quiet connection that spoke of family, love, and continuity. And when Noah hugged her, holding on longer than usual, Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, because the embrace was not just gratitude, it was trust, it was recognition, it was a child understanding that love can exist in layers and carry on through time. And Lily, watching from the side with a soft smile and a hand over her heart, realized that she had never fully appreciated how deep Emma's care ran, how much thought, effort, and emotion went into a simple act of giving. And just as Emma and Noah shared this tender moment, the sun lowered toward the horizon, casting a golden glow over the yard, and Mark arrived, holding a small box of candles he had forgotten in the rush, his presence quiet but steady. And Emma's heart skipped as she realized how the day was unfolding in ways she had not fully planned, how the convergence of old friends, family, and memories was creating a scene that was both simple and profoundly meaningful. And as the two adults exchanged a glance filled with unspoken acknowledgement, they understood that this day had become more than a birthday celebration. It had become a moment of healing, of reconnecting, of showing that gifts are not measured by price or size but by the thought, love, and care poured into them. And as Noah began to test the bicycle slowly, wobbling slightly but smiling wide with exhilaration, Emma felt a swell of pride and relief, knowing that the perfect gift had done more than bring joy. It had bridged generations, healed small wounds, and reminded everyone present that love, patience, and effort can create moments that linger in memory. And as she watched him pedal around the yard with Mark nearby adjusting a stray wheel and Lily cheering, Emma realized that part 3 was the heart of the story, the pivot where giving became more than an act and became a statement of presence, care, and courage, a declaration that even amid life's losses and changes, meaningful gestures rooted in love could create magic. And she let herself breathe fully, embracing the joy, the subtle romance and glances shared, the deep familial bonds, and the quiet satisfaction of a plan executed with intention and heart, knowing that this day would stay with them all, marking not only Noah's growth but also her own journey toward hope, connection, and gentle beginnings that could carry forward long after the balloons were packed away and the laughter faded into memory. As the party slowly wound down and the yard emptied of laughter and chatter, Emma stayed behind for a few moments, watching Noah ride his new bicycle along the soft grass, wobbling at first, then gaining confidence, the sunlight catching the red paint and making it glow like a small, precious jewel, and in that quiet space, the weight of the day, the care, and the emotions she had carried finally settled in her chest, a mix of relief, joy, and something tender she hadn't expected, because giving this gift had been about more than a bike. It had been about connecting past and present, about showing love that lasts, about creating memories that would anchor a child to the people who cared for him. And then she noticed Mark standing by the fence, watching Noah with a quiet smile, and her heart fluttered with an awareness she hadn't fully allowed herself to feel. The gentle stirrings of something new, something cautious and warm, a kind of attraction not rushed, not urgent, but steady, patient, and understanding. And when he finally spoke, his voice low and calm, "You did something brave today," she felt it as a recognition not only of her effort but of her courage to show up, to be vulnerable, to give deeply without expectation, and she smiled, replying softly, "So did you," because she knew he had been part of the process, helping her carry a piece of history forward, respecting her intentions, and supporting her without intrusion. And as they stood side by side, watching Noah paddle carefully but with growing confidence, Emma realized that this simple, quiet moment held more meaning than any celebration, any applause, or any gift could, that sometimes the true gifts are invisible, carried in care, patience, and presence, and that love, in its many forms, familial, friendly, and possibly romantic, could be expressed gently, without fanfare, but with lasting impact. And as the shadows grew longer and the air cooled, she felt a sense of peace she had not known for months, a gentle reassurance that healing and connection were possible, that past disappointments did not define the future, that the courage to give and receive love in honest, heartfelt ways could open doors not only for a child but for herself as well. And when Noah finally stopped, hopped off the bike, and ran into her arms with a laugh that lifted her spirit and lightened her worries, Emma held him close, feeling the warmth of family and the delicate threads of new beginnings weaving through her heart. And as Mark moved a step closer, the space between them charged with quiet understanding rather than pressure, Emma realized that the perfect present had done its job in more ways than one. It had brought joy to Noah, healed small gaps left by absence, and offered her a gentle, unspoken invitation to hope again, to allow herself the possibility of love, of connection, and of shared moments that were patient, tender, and full of potential. And in that soft evening light, with Noah riding circles in the yard and the wind carrying faint echoes of laughter and conversation, Emma understood that life's richest gifts are not measured by material value but by the courage to act from the heart, to give fully, and to embrace what comes after with quiet confidence. And as she stood there with Mark beside her, feeling the subtle warmth of his presence and the gentle certainty of her own choices, she allowed herself to imagine the future with hope, knowing that this day, this birthday, this gift, this simple act of love, marked the start of new journeys, not only for Noah but for herself, for connections that could grow slowly and beautifully, for the promise that even amid life's uncertainties, moments of deep care, understanding, and gentle romance could bloom quietly and profoundly, leaving a lasting imprint on hearts willing to be open. And as the sun dipped fully below the horizon, Emma breathed in the evening air, feeling light and grounded at once, filled with the quiet knowledge that part 4 was the gentle culmination, the beginning of new possibilities, the proof that love expressed with thought, patience, and honesty creates ripples far beyond what one can see, and that the perfect present had indeed done more than bring a smile. It had opened hearts, healed quietly, and begun a story that would continue in ways subtle, meaningful, and enduring.